Reviewing the segment between Becky Lynch and Zoe Stark from Raw last week, Bully Ray said this on Busted Open Radio. "I don't know why the people are not more into Becky Lynch right now. I could say this. That whole heel run could have damaged her a bit, could have emotionally detached people from Becky Lynch a bit, because I don't believe that anyone has ever wanted to hate Becky Lynch. There's not a damn thing about Becky Lynch that is hateable. At least I haven't seen it. The 1 year that I spent with her in the WWE locker room, she was constantly smiling. So behind the scenes, a very nice, sweet, happy woman. When I see Becky Lynch come out to the ring as a heel, not only did we not understand what she was saying half the time, but we were popping for her entrance music. Yes or no? What has Becky Lynch ever done to say to truly make us want to dislike her?" As there are some AEW stars that could be seen as great additions to WWE, this was said by Ringside News about WWE not wanting to tamper with contracts. WWE is currently being extra careful due to concerns about potential contract tampering accusations by AEW and the ongoing legal battle with MLW, according to the Wrestling Observer newsletter. This approach marks a shift from the past, exemplified by incidents like the one Chris Jericho described in his memoir, where WWE openly courted him while he was still with WCW in 1999. The topic of contract statuses came up with Rush and Andrade El Idolo, with rumors circulating in Mexico. Rush's one-year contract with AEW is reportedly nearing expiration, while Andrade recently stated that his June 15th match in Laguna would be his last in the area for the foreseeable future, despite AEW not imposing restrictions on his Mexican bookings. The situation becomes even more confusing when considering that Andrade previously mentioned his contract ending very soon, despite initially stating that it would run until June 2024. Additionally, there may have been extensions to his contract due to his time off due to injury. Last year, it was reported by the Wrestling Observer newsletter that WWE had made contact with some AEW talent, a claim that AEW CEO Tony Khan later confirmed. WWE's current cautious approach may be a response to these past developments. With some outlets claiming that WWE had interest in AEW star Hook, Ringside News recently noted that, "We've heard a report going around that WWE is very interested in signing Hook away from AEW. Triple H and Shawn Michaels were both reportedly wanting Taz's son. We can confirm that Hook's name has not come up in any conversations like this. He is a contracted AEW performer, and WWE realizes this." Apparently, WWE had interest in bringing back a former NXT North American champion despite his legal issues and more, as Ringside News noted that Velveteen Dream was one of Triple H's favorite performers in NXT, but things derailed for him in a big way. His history in pro wrestling was marred with stories about cocaine abuse, arrests, and inappropriate conversations with minors. It seems that WWE was very close to bringing him back last year. One fan tweeted out to BWE and asked, "How close was Velveteen Dream to returning to WWE last year before the new incidents?" It seems there was a lot of talk about making that happen. The proven WWE insider tweeted back to say, "So close, the OGs remember my tweets about before." On his Hall of Fame podcast, Booker T said this about Charlotte Flair's WWE career, noting that she's the star of the show. "She knows it. Everybody else knows it. Fall in line. It's the best thing going today. You don't have to like it, but you better learn to love it. It's only fitting. She's the best at what she does, man. Wrestling is literally going to be something in her rear view mirror in the next 5 years, just because there's so much more out there for her right now. And I think she knows that too. I think she wants more. This wrestling thing for Charlotte Flair has been a pit stop or a bump in the road. She got the world in the palm of her hand. She could do whatever she wants." Following the times where Seth Rollins broke John Cena's nose and injured Sting in WWE, he would be called out by Bret Hart for being unsafe. Speaking about these comments during that same interview, Rollins said, "I love Bret Hart. I'll preface this. Bret didn't really critique me. He called me unsafe. Bret's going to spit the truth. He'll tell you from what he saw he thought I was an unsafe worker. And I would say anybody I've ever been in the ring with would tell you the exact opposite, including the guys who have got injured during the matches with me. That's a fact, I think. To finish it up nicely, I did approach Bret at a Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Bret was backstage and we ended up in the catering line together, and I said, "Hey man," and he said, "Hey," and I just said, "I wanted to tell you, as somebody who looked up to you a lot and still does, it really kind of hurt my feelings. I felt bad, and I don't say that often. Bret was a hero of mine when I was growing up, and so to have someone like that criticize you and your work and your work ethic and your empathy towards other people, that really is painful." So I expressed that to him, and I don't think he knew that I had that feeling towards him. I don't think he knew I cared about him that way, and it hit him in a spot, and he apologized, and we have been friends since then, and we've had good conversations. I'm happy we did do that, as Bret is still someone I look up to this day. Dave Meltzer previously suggested that Hit Row and especially Top Dollar had heat with WWE Creative, but Steve Carey of Ringside News recently said, "There is an idea out there that Hit Row has heat with WWE Creative. We have heard back from our own sources and have been able to confirm that there is no heat with Top Dollar or any other Hit Row member. There simply isn't anything for them to do at this time." With Olympic gold medalist Gable Steveson making an appearance during NXT, Steve Carrier of Ringside News wrote that Gable Steveson surprised a lot of fans when he showed up on NXT this week. That came as the 2024 Olympic Games are approaching as well. We have been able to confirm that WWE does have plans in place for Gable Steveson. It took long enough, but things are finally in motion for the Olympian. During an interview with Heel Squad, Sonia DeVille recalled the attempted kidnapping she was victim to back in August of 2020, saying, "There's just so many layers to it. First, of course, it's fight or flight, and you're just in the situation and you deal with the situation. And that night after the incident, I thought I was gonna go back to the house and sleep there because I was stubborn and I was in shock and I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know left from right at that point. Then the sun goes down and I'm uncontrollably shaking. And I'm in a hotel room under an alias name because I'm so paranoid that even though he's arrested, he's somehow gonna find me and have the dresser pushed up against the door. I made Mandy slide the dresser in front of the door on the 15th floor of this high rise, and paranoia starts to set in. It's fight or flight, and then it's shock, and I went to an autopilot of what needs to be done. What do we have to do? I don't feel first. I do first, and then I feel later. You do what has to be done, and then you feel later. So I didn't feel the full effect for what had happened for months. I was in full-blown fight or flight. I was living in fight or flight mode for months, maybe years." With it previously said that CM Punk could be facing off against Kenta at Forbidden Door, Sean Ross Sapp, a Fightful, noted that Kenta and CM Punk are no longer facing each other at NJPW Forbidden Door, at least as this past weekend. Fightful Select has learned that Kenta expressed to NJPW and AEW that he isn't facing CM Punk at the Forbidden Door show, as word started to make way around Collision this past week. As of the first episode of Collision, AEW was considering who CM Punk should face at Forbidden Door, or if he'll even be wrestling on the show. NJPW sources had confirmed to Fightful that Kenta and CM Punk had been planned for the event, but as of this weekend, it wasn't happening. We weren't given a reason as to why, but we're told that by the time Kenta had tweeted, "Kenta versus Punk is never going to happen," that was in response to him actually being out of the match. On his House of Hardcore podcast, Tommy Dreamer revealed that he's been diagnosed with skin cancer for the third time, saying, "I know you're all looking at this and saying, what the hell is so shiny on your head? Are you going to town? Are you having barbed wire matches? Being crazy? No. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? That's skin cancer. That's right, being a Guido all these years has caught up to me. This is the second time? No, the third time I've had skin cancer, and of course, it's on my head, but I'm not a pretty boy anymore. I'm hardcore. Scary when they tell you you have cancer and it's the best form of cancer. cancer, but you have to get it removed for this. They're able to cut it out. It's called Mohs surgery. I've had it before. I've had it here on my chest. I've had it on my head, and now I have a bigger one on my head. What you're looking at is the grossness of 42 stitches. I had 23 outside and 19 inside. You don't feel it when they're cutting you. It's weird. They numb your whole head. The weirdness of it is they have to cauterize your stuff, so you could smell your skin burning. The part that I didn't like, you can hear the scalpel cutting open your head, and the worst part is you can hear them when they're putting in the stitches. It's a long task to get that many stitches, but it's in your head. They can numb it. You're not feeling it, but you can hear it. You don't feel it, but you can hear it going into your skin and the tightening of the thread. It's gross. I also learned if they pulled too tight, they have to do each one differently, and they kept on looking straight ahead at me because the tighter you pull, you can raise your eyebrow. Though me walking around with a people's eyebrow, hey man, that could be pretty cool. But it's like giving yourself a bit of a facelift, which I definitely need. But not just on one side, one eyebrow, because the doctor was like, if you pull too tight, your eyebrow is going to be raised. That's kind of why I took myself, many reasons why I took myself off of TV dealing with my mom. I never told my mom. I didn't want her to worry. I've known for about 2 months because of, almost 3, because of the waiting time to get the surgery. I'm just like, man, is this going to be bad? Thankfully, they got it all, and it has all worked out. I don't blame the sun. I do blame lack of sunscreen, having a giant forehead, but most importantly, I do blame tanning beds. I used to go in tanning beds all the time. I could go down a whole other rabbit hole, but I'm not gonna with vaccines and all that stuff because I do think differently, but I'm not going to put that out there on this one. But just because I've had this 10 years ago and all of a sudden it had come back and kind of same thing would happen with my mom, like her blood wasn't clotting. How come all of a sudden that happened? So, I mean, I'm just not a very COVID there'll be a whole bunch of other stuff, so that'll happen once you got vaccinated. That'll be a whole other generation from now. But for me, I had to deal with it. I got a new hole in my head. It's not healing the way I did, and just before I went on doing this podcast, which was Thursday, June 15th, I noticed every time I put something on it, something would hurt. It's not supposed to hurt, kind of like a pinch. Asked about his creative pull in AEW, Miro told Good Karma Wrestling, I don't have that pull. I just show up. I beat people, whatever they tell me. I write my promos, I deliver my promos, and everything else is up to Tony Khan, to the man who sits on top of that chair. I'm not that guy that, oh, I want to work with this guy or with this guy or with that guy. No man, just give me the best. I'll take them all. It's not just about who you're fighting. It's about the story, how you get there. Let's get there in a way that people are going to be intrigued by it, and then let's have a good match after. But I'm interested in the storytelling as well. When it comes to Mark Henry eventually having a match in AEW, he told Chris Van Vliet, you know what, I have to think about it and I would have to start training and see how my body feels. I haven't taken a bump in years. I'd be open to a conversation. Recalling his initial main roster appearances as a manager by the name of Max Dupree, LA Knight said this to the Daily Mail, I come up for a dark match, I get the attention of the right people. Hey, who is this guy? But then the age thing comes up. Oh no, he's 40. Danger. But I'm not the average 40-year-old. I haven't gone through the ringer. I haven't had a bunch of surgeries or injuries, knock on that wood. I've lived a good, youthful life in a certain sense, and I've taken care of myself in a way I would say most don't. And also, I look a certain way where obviously I've got somebody's attention, but that number came up and it was like, well, okay, maybe we make him a manager. So some things happened there. It was not my cup of tea, and definitely I don't think it was for me, but somehow there I was. Some things happened that we don't need to go into, and then eventually LA Knight was back. Speaking about the involvement of Vince McMahon in creative for WWE, Ricochet said this to Sporf. Vince is still involved and Vince is still talked to. He's still someone that everyone looks to, especially with creative. So he's got his fingers in everything too. I think Triple H and everybody in creative is just trying to do the best they can and bringing out the best in who they have. They're trying to work to everyone's strengths. I think that's something that Triple H has always done. They want to grow the brand as much as possible, whether it's Raw or SmackDown or NXT. They're trying to highlight the strengths of everybody. I think it's been great so far. Asked if he has any interest in purchasing Bellator MMA, Tony Khan said during that same media call, "I was surprised to see that report. I haven't had any conversations with him about that. I don't know what that was about. My father hasn't had any conversations with him either. I don't even know who owns the promotion. Is Scott Coker the owner? The president? I'm not sure. I'm familiar with Bellator. I'm familiar with MMA. I've never worked professionally in the scope other than having some stars from UFC appear at times in AEW. I saw the report and there's really nothing to that. I'm not sure where that rumor got started. I've honestly never had any talks, and my father has never had any talks about buying Bellator, so I was surprised to see that. Was that someone Ariel Helwani reported? It would not be the first inaccurate thing Ariel Helwani has reported. That is completely inaccurate, but that's Ariel Helwani for you. Explaining how Logan Paul got to be a part of the Money in the Bank ladder match, PW Insider revealed that we've gotten a lot of emails from elites asking for insight into the Money in the Bank winners and whether Logan Paul has changed any of those plans. We are told that the plan all along was for Paul to be featured in the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, and there were no creative changes. We haven't heard any 100% definitive plans for the men's Money in the Bank winner, although there are certainly people pushing for it to be the LA Knight breakthrough moment. Touching on the situation with Drew McIntyre, who has been absent and is expected to see his contract with WWE expire by next year, the Wrestling Observer newsletter said McIntyre may be back shortly. As noted, they were hopeful of getting him to return for the July 1st pay-per-view show. Nothing is official at press time. Past they are discussing dates for return, but creative was not finalized at press time. He represented WWE this past week at the Special Olympics in Berlin, Germany. He has been a global ambassador for the Special Olympics since 2021. PW Insider would add that WWE sources indicate there are many in the company who believe Drew McIntyre will be back in the mix by the UK tour and Money in the Bank. Giving details on changes made by Vince McMahon to Monday Night Raw this week, Fightful said that the opening segment of WWE Raw changed Monday, and we've learned more about what was planned. Tommaso Ciampa returned on WWE on Monday night, defeating The Miz, but he was actually supposed to answer the open challenge of Seth Rollins. The match between Rollins and Ciampa was set to get a ton of time, but was changed multiple times over the weekend prior and a few hours before the show. Internally, the match was listed as to be announced versus Seth Rollins, but was changed to have Rollins attacked and Ciampa to face The Miz. We're told that the move was a Vince McMahon move, and all of those originally planned for the match wanted the match to go through as planned. We haven't heard that it was so Ciampa wouldn't lose his first match back, as there was a plan in order that would have been a non-finish. There has been an internal plan to reunite Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano, and Gargano was backstage, but he wasn't planned for the show by the time the night of rolled around. It would be added by Sean Ross Sapp that I've heard a lot of frustration surrounding this particular move as outlined in the story. With it looking as though Carlito will be heading back to WWE in the near future, Ringside News wrote that, as previously reported, Carlito was rumored to have signed a contract with WWE as he pulled out of an upcoming indie show. In fact, it was said that Carlito told even more promoters that he signed with WWE. According to a report by PW Insider, WWE is currently targeting the July 7th SmackDown from Madison Square Garden in New York City as the venue for Carlito's official return to the company. With Dave Meltzer of F4W Online reporting that a top name in AEW left Dynamite in a bad mood, worried over the Elite and CM Punk situation being a ticking time bomb, Daxhar seemingly responded to this on Twitter, writing in a now deleted tweet, "This one will get me some heat, but F it, it needs to be said. Whatever top star left the show in a bad mood because a certain individual was there, instead of running to Dave, why not just tell the individual face to face? That's how we used to do things back in the day." Dax added, "If there is a divisiveness that a certain individual is reporting, I didn't see it at all. Check the Collision locker room too. This is a family. Okay, I deleted the last one because F it, I took too much pre-workout. Y'all screenshotted it, so let's effing go. Face is itching, chest day, Collision tomorrow." with a pro wrestling personality by the name of Bill Body creating a shirt that insinuates that CM Punk is a pedophile. Punk is now suing this man, as Bill responded to this on the latest episode of Dirty Sheets. I recently received a letter letting me know that CM Punk, Phil Brooks, intended to sue me. So he's using me on the grounds of mainly a tweet and response to said tweet and a satirical meme I posted, but it insinuates that I created the meme and selling the t-shirts that are being sold on the internet. There are actually t-shirts being sold for this. I did not create the meme. I did not sell the t-shirt. As BJ Whitmer was arrested on June 4th and charged with strangulation in the first degree and burglary in the second degree, he would subsequently be released from his role as a producer for AEW. The alleged victim in this case, who was dating Whitmer prior to this altercation, said this to Fox 19 Cincinnati. "I was literally fighting for my life. I came into my house and he was standing at the top of my steps waiting for me, and he squeezed tighter and said, 'I'm going to effing kill you. Do you hear me? I'm going to kill you.' And once we got to the point of where we stopped moving and then he continued choking me, I absolutely knew. Instead of coughing, I lied and said, 'I already called the cops.' And the second I said that, he let go." Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful would add that ahead of his arrest, we're told that BJ Whitmer had some heat with how he'd produced a recent match. And this was your Pro Wrestling News Update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all later.